Six Underground is directed by Michael Bay and stars Ryan Reynolds. You also got Dave Franco and Melanie Laurent, if I'm pronouncing that right, and Corey Hawkins, and among others. And this is also written by the writers of Deadpool 1 and 2, Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese. And in this film, it deals with a team of unnamed these vigilantes that basically end up going after. I'm going to try to describe the plot as best I can. They're basically trying to get this dictator from this country out of his own country and swap him with the dictator's brother in order to bring peace to that dictator's country in the Middle East. That's as most as I can explain.
Basically what they are a bunch of people from different walks of life who, and it doesn't go in really good detail. We'll get to a flaw on that, but it does for one character where pretty much democracy countries like the US, UK, just, the ones that speak about freedom end up, not going after dictators per se. So basically, these people are tired of seeing it, and they pretty much find a way to kill themselves, but not kill themselves, but they're declared dead, and they're able to go to fight, taking down bad people around the world.
Yeah, and this was the recently released Netflix movie that came out, and to get into some little backstory, if you've seen our channel for the last few years, we've talked a lot about Michael Bay's movies, the way he's been directing some of his Transformers movies, and if you know us, if you know us outside of YouTube and stuff, I gotta admit, outside of growing up, before I even saw the Transformers movies, I'm a big time Michael Bay fan. It's when he's not doing his usual Transformer stuff and other franchise movies. When he did movies like Bad Boys and Kane and stuff.
Before he did Transformers, he stuck with originality, and all his movies were amazing. I loved all his original ideas. It wasn't until he touched Transformers is where he started really falling apart, because this is where Michael Bay thought, okay, I want to start doing classic franchises or remakes of stuff, and I want to go, do something that people know, like Transformers, Ninja Turtles. Ugh. But shit like that is where Michael Bay went fucking downhill.
Yeah, and that's not to say that Michael Bay hasn't had his share of not so good movies, because I'm not really the biggest fan of Pearl Harbor, but I mean, compared to some of his other stuff, I still love his early stuff, like The Rock, Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2, and even Pain and Gain and all that. So there's been a lot of Michael Bay movies that I love, including a few years ago we had 13 Hours.
And 13 Hours was great. I personally, talk about early films, I actually loved Armageddon. So
yeah, I liked Armageddon too. Even to this day, I still think it holds up. And so when he's doing stuff like that, when he's doing his own kinds of things, that's the kind of Michael Bay I like. And from the trailers I got from this, it looked like Michael Bay was kind of going back to his more original stuff that he's more used to, and his more of a style that I was actually kind of on board with. And it was a shame because the movie went straight to Netflix, and I was thinking it because it didn't look like it was one of those lower end type movies. It looks like it was a big fucking budget movie that could have went to theaters.
Exactly. And you know what? While watching this, I almost want to question if Michael Bay spent the same amount of money Martin Scorsese did with Irishman, because when you see this film and how the trailers looked, it is he had to spend $100 and something million making this.
Oh yeah,
holy
dude.
Shit.
Yeah, you can tell the money on the screen is there. But
in fact, I'll be honest with you, how visually and everything is done so proper in this film, I wouldn't doubt that he spent more money doing this than he did with the fucking Transformer movies.
Yeah, and that's to say a lot, because he spent so much on those other films, and knowing him in his past, after those movies made so much money, he would always be doing the next one. Well, after Last Night came out, he was like, you know what? Well, I guess my last movie didn't do good, so make as much money. So I'm gonna go back to my other shit for now until I get back stuff.
after all the criticism he's gotten, because honestly, I could be okay with the first Transformers. Personally, after that, I didn't fucking care about any one of them, and I thought his take on Ninja Turtles was blasphemy. It
Yeah.
was trash, fucking utter trash.
Yeah, but with this
So
one, it was also got me curious because this has been like the biggest year for Ryan Reynolds because we've seen him in like not only movies like Pokemon Detective Pikachu, but even the smaller roles he's had like in Hobbs and Shaw. And it almost seems like in this movie, it was like if you took a spin off of that character from Hobbs and Shaw and kind of made him do his own thing, or if you took
yeah,
Wade Wilson from Deadpool 2 and made him where his whole team had a whole movie on themselves without superpowers. So that's what I kind of got from the trailers of it. And so after
yeah,
upon seeing the movie, I can honestly say that this movie, while it does have a shitload of problems, I
yeah,
actually had a lot of fun with it.
yeah. I will say that it's weird because there is a lot of flaws to it as well. If you were able to just take your serious brain aside, this movie was probably one of the most entertaining films I saw of this year. Probably the most entertaining film as far as having a fucking blast I've had in a while, despite its
Yeah.
flaws.
Yeah, and to get my pros out of the way, once again, I'm a big Ryan Reynolds. He fucking killed it. I loved a lot of all his humor combined, but I also do like some of the more like serious moments that he does, where he reminded me a lot of his performance in Smoking Aces, where he was that very kind of guy doing his thing and trying to get through everything and trying to also there's even emotional parts where he's like not going to spoil anything, but let's just say there's an event that happens where he has to like save a child from something. I thought that really touched a lot of humanity to the character that I enjoyed.
Exactly. There's a lot of different types of emotions with this character. His humor is so good in this film that it's almost on par with like Deadpool fun. And
Yeah,
then when it gets dark on scenes, he actually impressed me on those scenes. And when it, like you said, the emotional scenes where you go do a little bit of his backstory, where it looked like he worked for like a human. He was a rich guy, but he worked for like some kind of like humanitarian for humanity type
yeah,
thing in war zones. And the shit he sees really breaks his character down emotionally. And I think that's what kind of started him into this business. And I was
yeah,
actually I was like, damn, on the emotional side, not to mention the very end where he sees a certain somebody, don't want to spoil. You remember at the very end, and
yeah,
he wants to say something, but he can't. And that certain thing is staring right at him, and it's like it's really heartbreaking. But he's doing what he's doing. It's basically he's playing Bruce Wayne. You can't fall in love. You can't give in. You just got to keep on going and going and doing good for the world. And
yeah,
honestly, with all the brutal ass motherfucking dictators and evil fucking people out there in this world who are running countries and doing exactly what this fucking piece of shit villain does to his people, I truly think we could use that kind of type of people in this world, knocking these motherfuckers out. And I'll tell you, the way that they do that motherfucking villain at the climax, oh my god, I'm glad they went that way instead of the typical boom boom, it's over, giving them to the people. Oh my god, that was awesome. And especially the other cast, not just Ryan Reynolds. I mean, there's some people that really have like little screen time in this film. Or I mean, everybody has good screen time, and there's some that you don't really get a lot of backstory for. But all in all, when they're all together, everybody is fucking great in their
yeah.
own merit. I enjoyed everybody in this film.
I did too. I especially loved the whole banter back and forth between my favorite part was the Mexican dude and how he was quoting all those movie references in one scene, and the part where
Yeah,
he's fucking like throwing one-liners at the girl and stuff, the blonde chick
yeah.
and all that, and
Yeah,
it's
they're referencing like fucking because I like when he's holding that laughing gas on accident and he's sitting there fucking laughing and he's sitting
yeah,
there talking about Darth Vader and he said a quote from actually Breaking Bad. I'm the one who knocks, or some shit like that. I remember. I mean, he was just quoting movies left to right. It was fucking hilarious. Yeah, I enjoyed him, but I enjoyed everybody. Now that we get to the cast, another cast, that fucking villain. Holy shit, this motherfucker was ruthless. He was
Yeah.
fucking. You know what? You know how ruthless this motherfucker is. I haven't seen a villain this mean since the Rambo 4 from 2008, where he
Yeah.
just doesn't give a fuck about his people.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying. Like the shit that he fucking does, like I was like, damn, they need a real this motherfucker is just so like he ain't talking no shit either, you know?
No, like he's fucking poisoning people. He's fucking telling his military to slaughter children, women. You see motherfucking kids just getting burnt and fucking blowing up. And it's just like, what the fuck? What a fucking scumbag. But
Yeah.
now I'm gonna get on. I enjoyed the story on the basic standpoint where it's flowing. There are some problems I do have as well, which we'll get into our cons. But I thought the story was good enough for an entertaining flow, and I think it actually got better in the second half than it did in the first half.
Yeah, I can agree to an extent with that.
Yeah.
Because one of my other biggest things I will say too is the way that, like other Michael Bay films, the way it's beautifully shot with the cinematography
Yes.
that he does, his cinematographer does in this movie. You know, his
Mhm.
style where it does like the zoom ins, like on the sunglasses, and the way that you have like the shoot.
The sideways, the over the skyscrapers. You got this is a Bay film. There's
Yeah,
explosions. Um, there's just fucking mayhem. And I honestly, this movie is batshit crazy, like watching Crank type
yeah,
level. It's
and
just
not just that.
fucking does not wait for a slow build up. This shit kicks the fuck off. People are getting fucking ran over and ping ponged and fucking decapitated bodies, eyeballs, fucking shit falling from skyscrapers, slicing people in 30 pieces. I mean, this fucking movie's gore. Oh my God, this movie was brutal, and I loved every second of it. And you know what's really funny is how upscale on the graphics and the visual effects and the cinematography and the explosions and buildings falling and just crazy mayhem. It's funny how his Transformers and Turtles were badly CGI, but this film surprisingly had no problem with CGI. It looked fucking real.
Yeah, I mean, there may be a couple shots like here and there. You may have
Yeah.
like if you look closely on some parts, but for the most part,
Yeah,
knowing
I
Michael
mean,
Bay,
you have to really look. With the
yeah,
turtles and the fucking Transformers, I could be down the fucking street and see it.
yeah, but well, that's another thing too. I love the production design because there are some really cool set pieces that I got to give credit for Michael Bay doing this. Especially one of my favorite I think my favorite action set piece is the part where they're in Hong Kong and they're on that big ass fucking high tower and they're going through like the fucking shootout where the water flows and all that. That to me was badass. You know,
Yeah,
it
there's my two favorite. Really, there's a lot of favorite scenes. Hong Kong, that fucking that get doing that fucking trying to get doing that little stealth shit to get the guy they need. And man, they were fucking this. This was an awesome fucking scene. The park lore, like kind of like Hardcore Henry. The park lore is fucking amazing in this fucking movie. I
yeah.
mean, this it switches from to fucking one on person shot, and it's just like whoa, whoa. It's like a fucking fun roller coaster. It was a blast. Um, there's so many good parts. The beginning in Florence, Italy was fun. Mayhem after mayhem. And then, of course, the third act in Turkestan is where it's a made up country. I mean, you got Turkey, you got Turkmenistan. They couldn't go with the real country, so they call it Turkestan. And I think it was a fictional country where they kind of used similar names. But, anyways, that third part was that climax was fucking epic. But
Yeah, it was.
another thing I enjoyed was uh great score, really touching ending. I really thought it was.
It was, and the score reminded me a lot of like Bay's earlier films. In fact, I'm not going to compare it, but I'm saying the score reminded me a little bit of like a mix of Pearl Harbor's music and somewhat of 13 Hours' music, with that whole like kind
Yeah.
of like patriotic type of score that he uses. And he also used a dubstep soundtrack, which took a while to kind of get used to, but I didn't mind it so much because it kind of went with the mood of the action, like that part where he's
He
doing the
also
parkour.
throws in a little bit of humor scenes where he throws in some funny ass music, like
Yeah,
that one part where they're driving. If you want to be my lover.
yeah,
I mean, there's some really fucking funny parts mixed with when the movie gets dark. It gets pretty fucking serious and dark. Like
yeah,
with movies like that, you don't see it go from really good funny and extremely dark. Like
yeah.
for some reason, somehow it blended very well in this film. Uh, but I don't know what else to say that will spoil anything. So now getting my cons. Biggest problem in this film, unfortunately, and it's mainly the first half, is kind of giving us the whole backstory of everybody because the film goes with the whole kind of like fun, like cranky type crank type vibe where it's like spray paint and showing their names and stuff.
Mhm.
And you got Ryan Reynolds kind of narrating, and he's trying to. It's kind of present time, but then he's like, well, "Let me take you into the past." And then there was past, but then they wouldn't let us know they were present, and then there was a past of the past. Some people didn't get deep backstories, some did, some weren't in order because they're named by numbers. I'm number one, you're number two, you're number three. Why not go in order so we can kind of helps us out to get to know who's who? And it just I had a hard time, like it was all over the place is pretty much what I'm trying to say. It was a jumble mess.
Yeah, I'm the same way because the movie, like, it's very, very, very convoluted with its plot, the way it goes along, and its editing was like very hard to follow from the beginning and until the second act, because throughout the first two acts, it pretty much becomes a jumbled mess of going back and forth and back and forth. And yes, that is common with a lot of Bay's like Transformers movies. The way he did that didn't give me a fucking headache like those movies did, but it still was made the plot more confusing for me because I was like, okay, so it's going from here and then it's going flashback. It's really hard to
And
follow.
and because of how jumble mess it is, Bay does fuck up on one part where they're trying to do a backstory of Ryan Reynolds, where, like I said, he was doing the humanitarian kind of thing in that war zone. And you see some shit go down where this fucking brutal dictator does some shit to like the whole village of people who are sick and, from all the gas and all that stuff, and pretty much orders a hit, tells his military to fucking bomb them and shit. And Ryan Reynolds, it confused me because it seemed like a backstory of his, what made him so pissed. But then the dictator in present time was sitting there with his brother, and his brother showed like look what they're showing on the news of that event, like it was just recently, like yesterday. I'm like, I was confused. I
Yeah,
was like, okay,
continuity
I
was hard to
fucking
follow.
lost, huh?
Yeah, continuity was really hard to follow from those scenes.
Yeah, it wasn't until like the middle and the third act is where everything kind of made more sense. And the character development, I thought at first was poor, but for somehow he did redeem himself in the third act because I felt like these people have been like their family. Like he does good on the building up the family thing, despite not much backstory with some people. Because the
Yeah,
backstory is where he's really fucking messy with.
yeah,
So
yeah. Because and also it also counts with one of the story arcs, which involves with Corey Hawkins' character. Because, well, not to spoil anything, but he's basically a soldier that fakes his death to go to join them and stuff. And there's a crucial point later on where he has to pretty much redeem himself and to make a choice that Ryan Reynolds' character doesn't want to do, but he wants to do it because he believes in the greater good and not leaving a person behind. So I appreciate that they gave him on that level too.
and
Um,
now that a certain replacement per
yeah,
se that happens.
yeah,
Now, other than that, I thought that maybe we could have had more vulnerability. We did at the beginning, but then like there was a lot of vulnerability in this film. Don't get me wrong. There's some stuff that happens like in the climax, like you think they're gonna really, off some of the people, and then you're kind of like, the kind of like it'd be neat if we would have saw like. I'm not saying I want to see the good die. I'm just saying like just build the stakes even harder.
Yeah, that's what I would have liked too. My other
Yeah,
thing
but
is
yeah, I would love to see. I could see Michael Bay building a franchise out of this. I would love to see what else they could do with this.
I'm interested too as well. Like it would be good if they form a better, tighter writing in the next movies. If they do
Yeah.
another one and maybe give us a more cohesive narrative because I think what Michael Bay lacks as far as like doing a lot of his movies is that he does sort of lack a lot of cohesive narrative where things aren't very consistent a lot of the time. So it would be cool to see him do a straight on like straight up action movie, like his old days, like when he used to do The Rock and stuff. You know.
I think one of Bay's issues is the fact that when he's director, he doesn't just stick to directing. He feels like he wants to call the shots on everything. He gets the ego in him, and I've
Yeah.
heard that through other movie stars who starred in his movies. What made them leave is you got a producer, an editor, you got a fucking screenplay writer, you got a writer, you got a executive producer, and all this, just so on and so forth. And while he's director, he ends up wanting to jump on that, and then he's like, "No, I'm a producer now. No, 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 I don't want that. I know you know your job. I'm going to do that." And that's where I think a lot of the mess happens. I think like other director, what's his face from that did the horror movies, that did the Cabin Fever.
Oh, Eli Roth.
Yeah, he's like Eli Roth, where I think they should just stay behind the camera because he could shoot movies. He could fuck. He's good in the camera.
Yeah. Now, depending on how you feel about his editing, I can
Yeah,
always throw you off as far as the hyper editing stuff that he does. But for this movie and some of his other movies, I think it works because in a way, and I'm not trying to say it's I'm not trying to give like, but I'm saying that it's almost like in this movie, Bay was pretty much in on his like directing style. That even the characters kind of point out some of the stuff about it that I thought in a in joke kind of way, so to speak. So I actually kind of like it in this way, the way they do that in this.
yeah.
But
But
overall,
yeah,
though,
this type of Bay I want to see. This is where Bay needs to be right here. This is the type
yeah,
of shit he needs to do.
yeah, I know. If he could go back to more so like this, and even like some of his earlier stuff, like unfortunately he won't be directing the next Bad Boys movie, but in case he ever made sequels to some of his older movies that are non-franchise related, I could see him do it.
Yeah,
It shows that he has a lot of potential, and I also give him credit for at least wanting to do an espionage type of movie like this. Because it definitely does have a lot of lead up if they decide to bring it to a future movies. So with that being said, I'm going to give the movie. I had a good time with it, and while it is really, really fucking flawed, I still had. I couldn't say I didn't.
the
I still
entertainment's
say I
just
enjoyed
too
it.
strong. Yeah,
Yeah, and with that, I'm giving the movie a compelling grade on the Film Freaks meter.
I was thinking the same thing. Compelling graded on the Film Freaks meter for me.
Fair enough. For those of you who have also seen Six Underground, let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. And if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like, subscribe to our channel, and check us on other reviews here and our website at filmfreaks.com. We'll be seeing you in our next review. We'll see you later.